Hi, I'm Allie,
And I'm Matt.
and we are from Bakersfield, California, and we recently quit our jobs and are now traveling the Americas in our big red van, Clifford.
So we converted Clifford in about 6 weeks, so we definitely did it in a hurry. We tried to capture as much footage as we can, but if you have any questions about how we built something or how we did some piece of the van, please leave us some comments or questions. We'd love to make more videos detailing exactly how we did it. What's going on, guys? So I wanted to show you a little bit about what we're doing with our solar setup. I bought some of these used Siemens panels from a dude in San Francisco for 25 bucks a pop. They're 110 watts. So they're older, but testing them out, they seem to be working pretty well. So definitely keeping it on the budget side. So these are a little bit different setup than a regular or more recent solar panel. Most of those use an MC4 connector. As you can see, these were wired up with actual flexible conduit, and they have kind of a junction box in here. So I'm modifying these right now to make it a little bit easier to wire. I don't want to have to run plastic conduits. I'm going to run just basically exposed wire underneath the panel. So what I'm doing to accomplish that is I'm using what's called a cable gland. I ordered a few of these from Amazon. I think they came from China, but basically they have two holes in there where I can slip 10 gauge wire through, and then as you tighten this top collar, it basically crushes down that hole on top of the wire and seals it up. You can see that they had some of these installed here originally that they've sealed up. Also have a plug here. So I'm swapping these out. These are the same size. And then I'm gonna plug this. I found some, grab this, some 1/2 inch, so you read that. Yeah, some 1/2 inch conduit plugs at Home Depot. So I'm running a bead of lap sealant around these and installing them on the side. You can see one that I did right there. So I'm hoping that'll keep us all sealed up. Most of these were pretty dry. I did have one or two, wasn't this one, that had a little bit of water in them when I first got them. You can see there's this one. It's got a little bit of corrosion on some of the contacts. I sprayed some contact cleaner in there. Kind of cleaned it up a little bit, but just wanted to kind of show you guys what we're doing on our setup. I'll have more videos. I'll probably wire this up out in the driveway. Test everything, test the solar controller, test hooking it up to the batteries, all of that. So keep you in the loop as we move forward on that. All right, so I got a little bored with building cabinets, and I decided to wire up the whole electrical system, make sure everything's working the way I expect it to, make sure everything, checks out and that I know what I'm doing. So a little bit of trial and error, nothing too major. It's pretty late in the day. It's like 5, so the solar panels aren't doing super well. We did buy them used up in San Francisco. So you can see this thing. So yeah, it says we're only doing 18 watts right now. Just a minute ago it was doing about 50. So they're each 110 watts, and I got 4 of them, and each one was 25 bucks. So it was a steal, but I didn't really have the equipment to test them out then. So I'm hoping that they pan out. I'm definitely going to check them tomorrow, kind of during midday. Got an eBay Mppt controller. Another kind of question mark. I decided I'd take a chance on it. And if it's not working the way I expect it to, I can upgrade to something a little fancier, but this was about half the price. So there's that. I got everything wired through our DC fuse block that we'll be using. I also have an eBay battery monitor that I wanted to test. This is the first thing I kind of screwed up. It uses a Hall sensor, and I had that backwards, so it's counting the wrong direction. But it appears to be working just about right. I don't know that I can get the battery percentage to work appropriately right now, but I just plugged it in, so we'll see if we run you know, a lot more amp hours through it than 0.7. I got 2 golf cart batteries. I guess they're Trojan, but they're unlabeled. So I talked with a company here that services golf carts and a lot of forklifts. They sell these. They said they're 210 volt Trojan, 6 volt blacks. But yeah, I got these at a reasonable price as well. So decided to take a chance on those. Figured again, if I need to change them out for something from US Battery or Trojan, they're all kind of the same size, so I can swap them out later. Using our fridge for the load, just to test everything out and put some current across it. Looks like it pulls about just shy of 5 amps running full bore. It's been running for a couple hours now, so it's actually getting pretty nice and cool. But yeah, so far everything's working as expected. You know, I haven't wired up the inverter. I don't really have any big cables. You can see I've kind of doubled up on small cables to just test everything. But like I said, the current's pretty low, so it shouldn't be an issue. Yeah, oh, that's why it's dropping. It's starting to get some shade here. So, test pretty much over for today. I'll plug it back in tomorrow during the middle of the day, see if I can get, you know, closer to my 200 watts out of this. I didn't have a chance to wire up the other 2 panels I got, so maybe I'll try to hook those up as well and get all 4 panels going. But I really don't have much else I can plug in for loads unless I get a bigger cable and plug in the inverter. Make some smoothies out here or something. But yeah, I just wanted to show you guys kind of what I got going on there. So obviously I'll have a lot more details. This is getting installed on the van itself, but I figured I'd do kind of a dry run in the driveway before I got too far along. So thanks, y'all. After some testing, we ended up switching from the original 100 watt panels that I'd picked up in San Francisco because we found that they were just not efficient enough, and we wanted to make the maximum use of the space we had on the roof. So we ended up buying 2 255 watt used panels from another guy in LA for about $150 a piece. Those so far have been working great. All right, so we're up on the roof today. We're putting in the mounting system for the solar panels. I decided to use this 1 1/4 by 1 1/4 1/8 inch channel. It's aluminum. I'm gonna run this up the side. You can see where I've started to kind of sand and abrade the paint. I read over 3M's surface preparation. We're using VHB tape to stick this down. And they recommended some light abrasion, especially on paints. I debated taking the paint completely off because our van has been repainted, so this is not the original manufacturer's paint. So I had some concerns over just the adhesion of the paint itself, since if that was weak, that can cause us to fail and lose the panels. I'm gonna have two big 255 watt panels up here, so they'll actually end up hanging over a little bit. You can see some of the dotted lines from where I originally laid these out. I was gonna have 400 watt panels up here. We decided not to use those because they were older and kind of low efficient. So yeah, so that's the plan. VHB tape that channel down to the roof. I'm also probably gonna use some sheet metal screws. From talking with VHB tech support, they don't recommend using just VHB tape. I know people do that, but considering how many other holes I put in the roof, for that max fan, for this deckite fitting, and nothing's leaked so far, so I'm not scared of a few more holes to put some sheet metal screws in this as well. So yeah, we'll VHB tape it to the roof. We'll put some sheet metal screws through periodically, and then we're gonna drill and tap, or just drill, sorry, and through bolt these where the plate of the solar panels rests on them. So I got some stainless steel hardware, and we'll be bolting those panels down on all 4 corners wherever they cross over the channel. You can see the panels, 2 panels in the garage over there. It's kind of a mess. But yeah, basically, they recommended some fine scratches, so I found this like Scotch-Brite ball in my toolbox. I've never used it before. But yeah, I just put it on the drill. I'm running it up and down the side, getting some scratches in there. I'm also going over with a glass scraper just to make sure everything's flat. I kind of scraped out the area where I'd already put some lap sealant on the seams of the roof, just so the channel runs through there, it's nice and flat. Also, there's some imperfections in the paint, like little bubbles, so I've been taking those off. You can see one there. And then I'll probably run over this with that Scotch-Brite pad again. Just scratch it up. I also did the same for the bottom of this. You can see that side, and then you can see this side. They recommended lots of circular scratches, not all in one direction. I guess it's gonna help the tape stick better. So we're using VHB 5952 for it. He recommended either that or 49 something, I don't remember. That was one that had a little bit better UV protection. But I'm gonna come back up here after this is cured for 72 hours and probably primer and paint, or use some lap sealant. Well, I'm definitely gonna use some lap sealant on the sheet metal screws to go through that. But I'll probably come back up here and kind of post-treat this, so I'm not too worried about UV protection. He did recommend I wait that 72 hours to make sure the tape's fully cured before I paint it, and kind of seal it in. That could prevent it from reaching its full adhesion. So it's kind of what we got going on. Water alcohol mixture, gonna wipe everything down, clean it really well, and that's about it. I'll show you what we got when we get farther along. Solar panel mounting update. So we have piece of channel mounted down. A couple of learnings. One, take your time cleaning everything. I had to wipe down the underside of the channel quite a few times. See if I can show you guys. Started out kind of like this, basically this most of the time, and at the very end I was still getting, you know, a tiny bit, but I'd wiped it probably like 20 times, so I just kind of said probably good enough. Fortunately, the paint side actually cleaned up really quickly. So, but yeah, take your time, make sure it's really clean. It's gonna help it stick really well. The other thing, when I went to the metal supply house, I had every intention of buying 1.5" by 1.5" channel. Earlier I said I got 1.25" by 1.25". I couldn't find the 1.5", and then I found this bent piece of 1.25". It just had like a little tiny kink in it, but still had lengths long enough that were straight that I could use. So frugal me got suckered into buying this piece because it was like half price. But the VHB tape I have is 3/4 inch, so I have 2 strips under here, and this has like a little lip that's gonna hang out. I've kind of gone through and pressed it all down to the roof. I don't think it's gonna cause any issues. Like I said, I'm gonna come back and like kind of final prep this, so I'll cover it up so it won't be any UV issues. Plus, most of it's gonna be underneath the solar panel. Other learning, I decided to drill holes to put these self-tappers in here. So I drilled a hole just so that the driver bit will fit through there. And I'm using short 3/4 inch Tech screws, self-tapping screws. So these will fit underneath here, and I can drive them in. So I put a screw like every 12 inches or so down the length. So with the screws and the VHB tape, I am very confident this is not coming off the roof. But drilling them on the roof made a big mess, plus of this extra VHB tape. All of this aluminum is probably never coming out of this tape. So the next one, I'm gonna do this on the ground before I bring it up here. And then this VHB tape will at least stay clean. I don't know that it really matters, but since it's aluminum, it's not gonna rust or do anything like that. It's just kind of gonna be there permanently. So it may not be the prettiest roof, but it'll get the job done, and I think our solar panels will stay on. So I'm on to the second side. I'm kind of scratching up this side with that Scotch-Brite ball. Clean this, go down, drill the other one, clean it, and should we have that one stuck here in the next half hour or so. What's going on, everybody? So I got our first solar panel up. It's actually been up for like a day or so, and I'm just about to put the second one on. Figured I should show you guys kind of what I did. So I did a quick video, I think, about this mounting system I used. The 1.25" by 1.25" aluminum channel. It's 1/8 of an inch thick. It's pretty sturdy. And then VHB taped that to the roof and used some sheet metal screws to go through that VHB tape. I did come back and I lap sealed all those screws, and since they're passing through VHB tape as well, I think they should be pretty watertight. From there, I had to make some modifications to the underside of the solar panels. Come down a little bit, see if you guys can see it. So there's the mounting. Basically just had to drill a new hole here. I'm using 1/4 inch hardware, all stainless steel. I have the bolt, a large fender washer on top, and then a fender washer, a lock washer, and the hex nut on the bottom. I did quite a bit of research trying to determine if 1/4 inch was enough. I did try to fit 5/16 in here, but because of the thickness of this bezel and the thickness of the stainless steel, the fender washers were too big. And from the research I've done, 1/4 inch should be strong enough, but stuff online varies widely on material strengths. Somewhere between, like, you know, this could break at 300 pounds of load or like at 1,500 pounds of load. So since I have one on each corner, and this panel is rated for, you know, 500 pounds per square foot or something like that, it's only good for 2,000-ish pounds anyway. And then if each one, one of the PG Glands, it's only rated for 2,000-ish pounds anyway. But yeah, I think the 1/4 inch should be sufficient. If we're getting, you know, 2,000 pounds worth of lift off this panel, we got other problems too, probably. So I think we'll be okay. The wires are running out here. I'm gonna wire these in series, but I just wired this first one up to test it. I got some 10-foot MC4 extensions from Renogy, and then ran these through some PG 11 or PG 9 cable glands. I've seen people do other types of penetrations to the roof, but I wanted to show you guys these. If you watched our other solar panel video, the ones I switched from, I was going to use one of these that had 2 openings in it to pass the wires in and out of the junction box on our other solar panels. So I had to get some new ones that are a little bit bigger because their 10-gauge cable has this really thick jacket on it. But this is what these look like. As you tighten these down, this rubber in here pinches and gets tighter on the cable, and that seals that. So that makes a nice tight watertight connection. And then you have this rubber grommet here that goes against the top of the van to help seal it. I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna lap seal around this and around the cable for both of these. But I have one more panel to put up here, and then this is gonna switch around. One of these is gonna, the positive is gonna attach to the negative of the other cable, and then the negative is gonna stay where it is. So that's about it. I'll show you guys what I did inside. One of the downsides of doing electrical after you've done everything else is trying to modify what you've already installed. So since we didn't have the solar quite figured out and planned out when we finished construction in here, more or less, I had to make some holes in the roof. And because this PG gland is so big for this bottom hex nut for it, you got to make a hole that's way bigger than the cable size to be able to get that in there. And because this is only like 8 inches, I couldn't do this with a drill. I had to do this by hand with like a ratchet and my hole saw attached to the end of it. So yeah, those are 1.5 inch holes that go up through this and through the insulation. They don't look too pretty, but we just put that there and it doesn't matter. They run down through here. Allison made these nice cloth covers. You can see them here and here to kind of cover the wires down here and into our solar controller. You see we're making 140 watts right now. So yeah, the first one's working good. Each panel is a 255 watt panel. If you watched the other video, you saw the other panels that I tested out were not performing very well, much lower than expected. So we ended up selling those basically for what we bought them for, and we bought some newer used panels. These are only about 2 years old, so I think they'll work good, and we have a little bit more capacity now too, so should be good. Comments?
Hey. If you like this video, what should you do?
Subscribe!
Subscribe! Leave us a comment. Let us know what you think. If you have any questions, if you're like, what the heck, what did they do? They skipped over this part. Hit us up. We'll make sure to respond. Oh, Amber, you're such a good girl.